Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, because we did a video on those shoes.
Yeah, it's real. They're my shoes.
They're your shoes. No, I've seen them. I've held them in my hands.
They heavy as fuck.
They're interesting.
I wear them every episode of Masked Singer.
Suge Knight, who you have had a long relationship with, who you've been working with, recently became a grandfather in prison. That must be a tough one.
He's a different dude now too, man. He's and when the book comes out, people are gonna see a completely different side. And
I just want to interrupt you for 1 second. Remember, recently there was like this whole thing about who owns his life right. Ray J came in and said I own the life rights, and then he had to come in and say, well, not exactly, kind of, but only I guess Ray J owns the documentary rights.
I don't know, man. I don't know what they talk about.
You own the book rights?
I don't own shit.
You don't own shit.
Yeah, I don't want to own shit.
Right, because I'll tell you this. I
got enough of my own shit to own.
Before you go on, I interviewed Matt Barnes recently.
Yeah.
And at one point, he felt like he had bought the rights to the Death Row story, to the Suge Knight story, and so forth.
Who did he buy it from?
Well, when he started to prepare to go into production, 5 other people popped up and said, no, I bought this. Here's a contract. I own this. I own this. And he literally said, it got so messy that I just walked away. You actually own the life rights to Suge Knight?
No, so I was a part of a project that we did we did have the rights to through his niece. But it just kind of started getting messy the further and further it went down. I ended up hooking them up with...
Messy business with Suge Knight? Really?
Right,
I've never heard of that before.
I ended up hooking them up with Mark Kenton, the creative power, and had these guys all excited about doing the story. And then, once this shit got real, there was, so-and-so needs this amount of money and so-and-so needs that amount of money. And now someone else is, because we didn't get this, someone else has the right. So it just kind of got messy. So I just respectfully had to back away from that project.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually happy that Ray J did what he did, or said, or however it came out in TMZ. That all of that shit is so intertwined and magic fingers moving in the business. However it came out, because I was never going to talk about it until I hate making announcements. I've been in this business way too long. I don't make announcements. I make moves.
Yeah, until it's done.
Yeah.
When it's already in the can, getting released, that's when you could talk about
Less announcements, more moves.
Yep.
And so I've been working as an author, as part of, it all started from me studying Assata Shakur's biography and the autobiography of Malcolm X at school. And I was like, yo, who are these figures that, Assata's still a fugitive. She still can't come to America. And like when you read her story, you're like, yo, a lot of times they take our figures and turn them against us and vilify them and villainize them, and I may say, and I was like, there's no bigger villain in our culture, specifically in hip hop, than Suge Knight.
Right.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna use this as an assignment to go in and tell the real story and allow him to tell his story. I'm not coming in as a reporter. So the same way that Alex Headley was influential and helped with the process of the autobiography of Malcolm X, I'm doing the same thing with Suge.
Okay, you're comparing Suge to Malcolm X in an interesting type of way.
You said that, but don't put words in my mouth. But if you want to go there,
I'm just messing with you.
If you're going to go there, if we met Malcolm X in his earlier years, if you stop that book at page,
40,
or shoot, even 200 and something, Malcolm X was a cold motherfucker.
He was a gangster.
Yeah, he's shootouts and there's a lot going on, pimping and white women and all of that.
All that.
So, and like I said, that's why I said Suge is in such a different place in his life as a father, as a grandfather, and he's telling stories from his perspective, whether you choose to believe them or not, from his perspective, and say, this is how it really happened. This is what I regret. This is what I wish would have went down. And he says some stuff about all the key players from, Dre, Puff, Jimmy, Snoop, the things that he's saying. He's coming from a place like, hey, brothers, my hands is up, but this is the truth. This is the truth. And I wish we could have worked it out. It's many times I sat with him and he tells me, man, why us? We had all this money. It's like I had hundreds of millions of dollars. Why did they break us apart? Why did they sit there and let us turn against each other? Why didn't we have no big homies, no people above us to say, why y'all fighting each other? Get money together, put that into the hood. And he openly, the powers that be, he going at the Jimmies, he going at, the heads of these labels and saying like, they laughed at us. They thought it was funny. They thought, he was saying things that was like, and you'll see it in the book where he's saying stuff where like, when Pac passed, he was so hurt, and it was executives calling him, talking, oh, you gonna make money now. There's nothing sells better than a dead artist. And he's like, he said, these are the people that running the labels telling him this. And when you think about it, I don't find that too far-fetched because we know this game, they've been robbing this game from us for years and using us as pawns for years. And the thing that upsets me and what I want to make sure happens when people read this book is they take our kindness for weakness and they insult our intelligence often. They're like, we give them some money, we give them some cars, we give them some jewelry, and they'll be happy with that. Like, no, own your masters. Be your own CEO, be your own entrepreneur. And that's why I admire people like Suge Knight, Birdman, Puffy. Like, cats that go get it on their own and say, fuck what them dudes just talking about, those are the dudes I look up to.
Kind of hard for me to look at Suge as the victim.
I never said he was a victim. He's been, and we tell the story. He's the biggest villain in hip hop. That's undisputed.
Right, but the whole thing, they had me fight with whatever. Like, Suge could have been the straight-laced businessman. There was no reason.
He's a gangster from Compton.
He was not the gangster from Compton. Okay.
Okay. What's a gangster?
I had long interviews with Mob James. Mob James?
I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. I'm saying he's a brother from Compton. You can call it.
He was a young man.
He's
who
somebody
who came from a two-parent home.
Okay, so look,
who came from a two-parent home, who was very gifted at football.
I'll give you this.
Was not out there shooting at people in high school.
Because we shouldn't be shooting at each other anyway.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
he's somebody from a mentality that bullying was cool. He was bigger than everyone else, and he got his way through life bullying people.
Yes. In
his mind, or you could say protecting others by bullying people.
Right.
So, because I hate that conversation of who's gangster and who's not. Oh, he gangster because he got shot. He gangster because he shot somebody. That don't make you no fucking gangster, and I don't even care about that. But when you come from what we come from, there's no question, there's no way you can dispute that we come from the mud. We come from times where it's a lot harder, whether you got two parents in your household or not. When you living off of government assistance, when you living in a way, when you living in a gentrified or a white flight community, it's tough shit going on. And for someone who always wanted to help his community and went about it sometimes not the best way, like we definitely seen that. People died, people on all sides. Mm-hmm. But you can't say he's more wrong than this person because it happened on every side. And if there's somebody sitting, there's a higher power looking down, laughing at look at them motherfuckers fuck they shit off and fight each other. All of that's real. That really happened. So again, I'm not saying he's a victim, but there's greater powers in all of this that allowed that shit to happen. And whether we want to call them the fucking feds, whether we want to call them the Illuminati or whatever the fuck you want to call these motherfuckers who got way more money than all of us and sitting there and using us as pawns to kill each other, that's real shit. It's real shit.
Or you could look at it as someone who got drunk with power.
That happened.
Who built up a crew of a bunch of guys whose only skill set was violence.
Who, the LAPD?
The crew. The
crew had police officers in it.
All the blood. Yeah, they had the Reggie Wright had his crew, and Mob James talked about this. How at one point the Bloods started to get a bit out of control, so he started bringing the cops in to control the Bloods, and people started turning against each other. You know how many of those guys killed each other? Like, I don't know if you saw the Mob James interview.
I did.
But Mob James, that was our second biggest interview of last year. 13 million people tuned in to watch that. It was second biggest.
It was a great interview.
Mob James was in tears about how his own brother was killed, not by a Crip, not by someone from Bad Boy,
Right.
not from a hater, from another blood who was down with death row.
And you know, and it was crazy, and it's all good.
And I just want to say, he was the one that brought his brother around.
Right.
Knowing the type of environment he was putting his brother into and what would happen. And he hates himself to this day. It still kills him.
I could say this 100 times. If I wouldn't have brought my brother to death row, I wouldn't have put him in this situation. I think about I should have did something to Suge. I should have.
Every time, I believe February.
And I think Suge
his birthday.
I feel Suge feels a lot of that weight as well, sitting in that cell knowing like, damn, I could have did so many things differently. Because if you ever know Suge is like, as much of a villain as he's been painted out to be, that's a mama's boy. Like, that's somebody who cares and values family, the code, always try. That's why he so down for his. And I always say that about anybody who's a gangster. They're passionate people. Like, I'll fucking kill somebody for you. Like, so I love you so much, I'm gonna kill another motherfucker for you. That's the gangster mentality. So when you see your own kind start to turn against each other, and he always talks about it, and this is one of the themes, because I've also, you know, being a huge fan of Robert Greene and the 48 Laws of Power and all of those things, like, when you watch people who have dynasties and the mistakes that they make to where their dynasties fail and crumble, and then you can step back and analyze it, one of the things he says in this book is that I miss, you know, our community. He says the ghetto, and myself included, mistakes money for loyalty. That was powerful.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, when you break that down, like that, like, because we think the more money I'm gonna pay him, and it's crazy, man. Money and loyalty, those two hit head to head, and you got to define what's more important.